Hi, folks. Nick Tuckert here with the Historical Fencing Guild. Hope that's not the right one. That is. Before we get into the show tonight, I want to thank the wonderful people who helped make this show possible. That includes the Independent Creator Directory, that is IndieCD.org, for the best and the brightest authors, artists, and musicians. If you're looking to hire someone to make things better, please consider uh, this going to IndieCD and seeing what you can find. We're also made possible by bit.ly/jbtechapps, where you can find the Big Stompy Robots apps, by our patrons, Frog G, Off in the Woods, Ronald, Riehn, Bladed Thesis, Brian K. Morris, Cindy Koepp, Steve Agosto, Don Dulas, Angelina, Vaquera-Linke, Joe and Trilaina Bachman, and Richard Asplund Jr. Now, most of the content I do for my patrons goes right here. So I really appreciate it. And if you're interested in what we do, you can look up my books, The Simple Sword, The Fighting Axe, and The Simple Spear, all part of my ongoing series of Western martial arts manuals designed to help you go from having never handled a sword to teaching the art to others. We are starting. Actually, I managed to start almost exactly on time, but I may be running this episode short due to expected technical difficulties, because there's a major festival that goes on just down the street from me, and due to the traffic, my net starts to get very bad in sometime between now and 9 o'clock. So wanted to keep that in mind. All right. As a caveat to future, I need to give mild warning. I am a little out of it. Shortly before, middle of this afternoon, so a few hours ago, about 4 hours ago, Xander and I were in my car trying to back out of my driveway, and we got smacked in the back by a car hard enough to just from the corner pull us almost across the road. So my plans for the day got a little derailed, and frankly, so did I. So I'm going to do what I can with what I have today, and if I have to call it short because I feel just a little brain dead, I will. I had planned a Menards run to pick up some gear. I wanted to show you guys how to make the best looking, least expensive trainers I know of, but that wasn't something that was actually possible. So I am moving onward. I got some questions, and I was asked, what should I study to start this whole thing, from a young lady. And I had run a issue where I do not train people under the age of 18. I do not train people under the age of 18 for several liability issues, because they can't really sign a waiver. And for the same reason, I go out of my way not to be in compromising positions whenever possible. I don't train people under the age of 18. There are too many predatory people who do things like what we do, and I don't ever want to be mistaken for one of them. But I can help if they ask for guided advice, and it isn't self-serving that I recommend my book, even though it has become a bit dated. For the purpose of building up and getting a baseline. There are few things better than learning basic basic rudimentary footwork. So they want to know what can they take, what can they train in that will help, but maybe won't get them in trouble with relatives or something to learn. I said that's nothing wrong with that. If you are under the age of 18, so I want to do this as sort of a guide. Sorry, I'm zoomed it out like this. It's just StreamYard is being StreamYard. Under the age of 18, I would recommend, first off, you want to build your general physical health as much as possible. Now, none of us like gym class. Part of the reason we don't like gym class is they don't explain what to do. They don't often give you enough instruction in how to do it, why to do it. They're just out there. Well, go run these laps. Go do this. Can you do this, this, and this? And you're ranked on it. And it feels kind of arbitrary. Part of that is you may have to do your own research. You may have to look up exercises. You may want to talk to, if you have a doctor, go talk to your doctor when you go ask questions about I want to get in better shape physically. Now, when I say get in better shape, I want to really clarify this. Okay? I am speaking from a capacitive position, your capabilities. First off, as someone under the age of 18, but old enough to understand what we do, or at least be interested, you're in a very vulnerable state. Your bodies are changing, which I know you hear about all the time, but your big emotions, big thoughts, big concerns, and there are huge networks. I mean, social colossi, giants that basically try to inflict as much fear and discomfort of your physicality, because they will always have you chasing perfect, and they will always define perfect as whatever you are not. And it's a horrific thing that goes on. So when I talk about get in shape, I'm looking more like an old DM looks at your character sheet. You need to work on your dexterity. You need to work on your strength. In this case, you're going to have a lot of that kind of conversation. You want to work on your stamina. So this is where running, this is where swimming is amazing because it has a much lower rate of injury than many of the other sports. Do athletic things. I'm not saying formally join a sport, but participate. Play sports as games, not as end all be all. Now, if you want things to study specifically, now if you talk to your gym teachers and they are of any quality, they will tell you that if you want to work, say, I want to get stronger, what do I need to do? A good educated physical education instructor should be able to tell you, okay, work with this kind of kettlebell, work with what you need to be able to hold an object out for long periods of time. Okay, because you got to figure a sword's going to be a pound to 2 pounds, somewhere in there. Many, especially that I fight with, are lighter, but that's a good range to work with. So even just being able to hold that out and going through basic motions with literally like a hand weight. They're really inexpensive. You can get them oftentimes thrifted, or just use a can of soup, and just hold it out there and move around. Okay, because you're going to strengthen your forearm, you're going to strengthen your elbow, all your bicep. You're going to, as you develop the muscles, it will help protect the joints, your shoulder. That's going to give you a lot of the upper body. There are a lot of sport games that can help. If you have an opportunity to play pool or billiards, billiards is wonderful for fencers and spearmen. It's a simple technique, simple game. You're just trying to hit the balls in, but what it does is it forces you to think in smooth consistency, and it starts to get you thinking in angles. It starts to work on how you perceive space. It's a very good thing. One of the best things you can do is dance. And I mean, if you learn any form of dance, it will help you in martial arts, any of them. If you line dancing, you're still going to learn how to keep yourself relatively distant from other people when they're doing things, how to judge your distances, how long your stride is, and very, very, very importantly, dance teaches you left from right. So it's part of the three things that will really, really help you with that: marching band, dance, and of course ROTC. Because the things that are incorporated in the training for something like ROTC, from what I have observed, is very beneficial for any foundation towards a combative sport. There are many videos out there you can study from. Hello. If you've never, hi, Hot for Creature. If you've never, if you haven't had an opportunity, watching educational videos can help. Find ones you can learn from. But the hardest thing at this point is for you to develop discernment. Eventually, you may start doing things like point control drills. No, this is not about chakras. This is about basic. Hi, my name is Nick Tockert. I'm a freelance author, artist, game designer, and sword master, and retired paranormal consultant. What I've been doing is, for the last 25 years, I've been teaching people a rudimentary form of sword fighting so that they can improve, and then if they want to go on to different groups, they have a solid basis. So, do I have? Oh, my books are right. Is that no? That's not my book things. I'm sorry. I'm reorganizing my study. Yes, actually, I was a fencer in the Society for Creative Anachronism for 12 years. I left and formally split off to do what I do, so that I could go give presentations to SCA people, to amp guard people. I've worked with collegiate fencers. I've worked with Eastern martial artists, and in D&D, I have played a rogue. Frankly, I'm usually a forever sword master, but I've played a swashbuckler. I mean, that's fun for me. But I also literally have bucklers that I swash. Do I have any of my bucklers in here? Because I've been cleaning out my study, I don't have a lot of them. But I can show you basically my favorite type of sword. This is a live steel sword, but this is based on a Charles III from issued. Technically, it's a broadsword, believe it or not, but it has very rapier-esque hilt, and I this is my favorite live steel. But I have taught everything from, you know, fencing foils. I think, well, come along. This is fencing foil of my own, right? Oh, okay, you have a Dark Link sword. So if you were to go D&D, this was probably an Elvish Thin Blade, but I actually made the hilt myself, and I use this actually to annoy a lot of marshals, but I have a great many swords. I come from it from a very uh, practical, very functional. A Dark Link sword, okay. A Dark Link sword would be um, probably, again, a broadsword, 1 to 2 handed. So, yes. Um, that's going to be a more concussive sword, but learning how your thrusts would work very well too. Yeah, a 2 hand. There are a lot of systems by Meyer, which, if I recall right, is Meyer. Use it in home defense. Good. Then what you want to do is look up a system for drilling. I am limited because I'm fairly new on Kick. Thank you for showing up, by the way. And hello, Churro. I will get to your question. I haven't missed you, dear. But I would go what I have at the very first of my YouTube channel, which is here. Do I have a banner for this? I should. I mean, it would make sense, but I probably don't. Okay, fine. I'll create a banner. YouTube.com/ historical fencing guild. After this is over, go look up youtube.com/ the historical fencing guild. You will see this logo that's popped up now quite a bit. It's spelled this way, the historical fencing guild. Hold on, let me move that. There you go. And through that, you will be able to find in the back, that is a Elvira poster. Actually, it's an Elvira cardboard standee because, again, I'm rearranging my office and I want things how they should be, so I can have my 3D printers going and a few other things. I'm a big Elvira fan. But at the very beginning of my YouTube channel, if you go to the absolute oldest video, a much younger version of me will be there going through a walkthrough of the basic drills. It's in vertical format. It's a great resource. On a scale of 1 to 100, what's my swordsmanship skill? I would say, honestly, because I have met Olympic scale fencers, skill-wise, I'm probably 75 to 80%. If we were to go across the board. Now, I have certain physical disabilities that have been prolonged, and they are, yes, so again, but what I am better as a sword master than a swordsman. I am hyper aware and able to usually help people solve things like, how did they get how did they lose? What did they do wrong? What can they do better? Where are their openings? And I can help tweak people. There's a fairly famous gentleman by the name of Sword Sage in the YouTube sphere, and I was his Mr. Fix-It, basically. He would spar with me when he was doing martial arts, and I would help him find whatever gap was in whatever martial art it was to help him move forward. Nothing wrong. I get what you're saying, Puntos. And Puntos 9, you say you are very well spoken. You're slay with the ladies. I've been married for going on 25 years. So she seems to still be here. I do have a great many of female friends because I work, amongst other things, I work with a lot of women as a non-traditional instructor because a lot of people have gone through traumas or they have physical limitations. So I taught a legally blind person how to sword fight. I've worked with people who have movement limitations, who have amputations, uh, different levels of physical ability. A lot of times I work with people who are um, SA survivors. I have to be careful how I phrase it because of the different things, but I hope you understand what I'm saying. I've had to work with people who have, how do I phrase this? Have attempted to self delete. What about dual wielding? That would be my one of my specialties. Actually, I prefer to fight sword and dagger. I fight with a 34-inch rapier primarily, and a um, I prefer a 18 to 30-inch secondary sword. But there aren't many sword styles I can't make go. I basically what I did is I developed styles through looking at all of the ones I could find and seeing what they agree on. And what for this other question, could my niece with Down syndrome learn fencing? It depends on one. Of course, it would be parental consent. Um, her level of disability in line with that, and her both physicality and interest. She would need to learn how to fence, and she'd have to have the maturity and rationale to do so. But I also have spent most of my time working with special needs people professionally. I worked in schools with special needs people. I worked medically in homes with special needs people. I was a job coach for special needs people. So there are ways. I just don't know how old she is, and I don't know her background. So a lot of this I have to be very, very careful in what I am saying. Now, uh, as for getting back and hi Dawn, good to see you tonight. Uh, you can certainly work with heavier or bulkier weapons like an axe or a hammer of sorts. You still want to make them sized to you, and they are definitely weapons that require respect, and they are a little trickier to train with because to train with a weighted blunt weapon, you need a weighted blunt trainer to have the ramifications. But they don't need to be quite as heavy as you think to be effective. Um, what I would do is work very hard first on learning how to use them in a tool setting. So if you want to learn how to fight with a hammer, first learn how to drive nails with a hammer, and then how to shape metal with a hammer. Learn it as a tool, and then you will just be adjusting what your body already knows how to do for a weapon. So, okay, if we are talking, one moment, blunt weapons, not blunt, heavy weapons, you're thinking something possibly like this. Now, this is something I promised myself I would buy if the world ever hit certain parameters, which it has. This is actually considered a boy's axe, which means it is a bit lighter than a full-size felling axe. In this case, it has a 2.25 pound head. This is a rubber guard to keep the sharp part from digging into things. I will eventually be making essentially a leather sheath for this, but I have to do some work to get this how I want. I may be refinishing it. But this axe is light enough that I can use it combatively, heavy enough to do damage, and I used to be a bit of a woodsman. I used to do a lot more camping and outdoorsy things. I also, all the way through high school and before, from about middle school through high school and into college, made a lot of my money by splitting wood with a splitting maul. A splitting maul is about an 8-pound sledgehammer that has an axe for one side, and by splitting up wood. Uh, Very, very feasible as a tool. It can be weaponized, but it's very difficult because there's a lot of understanding the recovery. Um, a lot of people like one-handed weapons, so you might really be looking towards something. Hold on. Like this. This is a mouse hawk, actually. This is one of my throwing axes, and it's actually my favorite. It is a little loose. I have to readjust it, and I added grip tape because I wanted to be better able to demonstrate and do things for this program. But this is still a mass weapon. This is a weighted, heavier weapon that's going to use weight and momentum to hit harder in this case, in a focused area. So I kind of need to know what you're looking for, because many years ago, this is all beat up now, I made the Random Acts of Kindness, which this is just a boffer little axe that I made for sparring and training and things like that. This is just camp pad and duct tape and PVC. This is a little bit of foam I had left over from another project to make the grip a little nicer for me. It's offset because I wanted to make it a nice right-handed axe. And it is wrapped with athletic tape. So it's cloth tape so it doesn't get slick. I quite like this. I do wish I had made it a bit longer. But, so I need to know more precisely what kind of weapon you want to learn, why you want to learn it, and then we'll talk about how to fight it, theoretically, and how to train for it. All right? Because, Churro, you are a little thing. Now, I am going to show you this because I have a gentleman, his name's Steve, and Steve does Krav Maga. He's a very serious martial artist, and I made something to make his day happy, which is a boffer karambit, which is a very nice short range custom dagger / knife, depending on how you want to do it. But because I wanted to mess with him, I made it out of Hello Kitty duct tape. So this is the Hello Karambit. Totally safe, but I figure you guys might get a kick out of that. Sorry, we've got more questions coming in, and I am dawdling. I have a lot of trainers. I do a lot of trainer review on this channel. I have had input in designing trainers. And let's see. Where are we? Have you ever been poked by an accident from a child with a sword? None of the children with special needs were never around anything dangerous. And this is not something. When I worked with special needs children, I worked in a school setting and I worked in a home educational setting. I worked mostly with adults in the home, helping with group homes, administering meds. And because I dealt with the people with severe behaviors, that also meant occasionally disarming them in a way that caused neither myself nor them to be harmed in the process. I work with my own special needs son, who can be behavioral. So we all have training scars when we look at martial arts and things. Mine are very deliberately geared towards the therapeutic side, which means I do not want to hurt or damage anyone at all possible, which makes it much, much more difficult. But I think it's better in the long run on there. And yes, it's less about more about carrying the weight itself. I'm rather frail. So, let's see. Yes, exactly. Maybe something similar to the boy's axe. I prefer two-handed weapons. I've noticed I can handle my shaky hands better with two, helps with balance as well. You may find, in your case, because you are on the shorter side, you're wanting. I would, in your case, train with either a bow or a Joe staff. A bow staff is the 6 foot long. They also call it eyebrow staff sometimes. A Joe staff is significantly shorter. It's actually about the length of my hiking stick. And there are resources for both. That gives you reach. That can give you a mass to propel because you're using leverage, and it's something that can help with mobility and balance. However, one of the big solutions is you build your style to your strengths, but you train to your weaknesses. So, and we also have to look at your setting. For you, if you were to train in something, I really would suggest starting with a Joe staff, much like what I carry, because you can also use that as a training aid to train in other similar styles. So, okay, one thing we joke about around here, and that's not what I was looking for. Hold on. Wrong PVC. That's what I'm looking for. 1 second. I have two options to discuss. This is what I lovingly call my my stick of anything. I can use this to emulate a large number of styles while I'm explaining forms here without necessarily banging my ceiling up too much. But if I have this, I can use this to explain how staff strikes can work, how spear strikes work, because the part of the weapon you grip is almost never longer than this. So if this were an axe, this would be right under the head of the axe. And so you can practice the sliding motions. If it's a stick, you can practice the roll snap motion for certain types of staff strikes. It's a very versatile concept. So in the air of that, I made this. This is my gentleman's cane. It's a little beat up because I've had it for a long time, but I carved this out and stained it. And this is a 36-inch long piece of red oak. What is it? Half-inch dowel? Half-inch square? Now, if I grab it here and I put my thumb and forefinger right at the base of this little indentation area, that gives me about a 30-inch stick. So this is the basis. This is about the blade length of my short rapier, and the balance forces me to fight it, so I can fight this very short rapier. If I drop down here, and you'll notice I've actually worn from grips these corners, this gives me the range of many of my short swords, my daggers, my couple of my machetes. And so this gives about a 2 foot, a little less, 18 inches, 20 inches. Gives me a good relative short weapon striking thing. And I can put both hands to go through two-handed techniques. And this is a training aid and it's a mobility aid for both my balance and my endurance because of the assorted issues that I have. So while I do study historical things and I do comment on uh, fantasy subjects, I always do it from as practical a mindset as possible. Uh, who's this guy? Are you referring to me, Grant Lankard? Or are you referring to a couple of the other people in the chat? So you know who I am, but do you have videos of me in action? Absolutely. If you go to the again the aforementioned YouTube channel, that you will see the Historical Fencing Guild YouTube channel. You'll see my drills. You'll see sparring videos from the past. Um, you'll see some crafting videos. Some of my other students sparring at different levels. Some of it silly. I unfortunately don't have much video of my time during the SCA because I was, unfortunately at that time they frowned on recording people, largely because people didn't want you to be able to study their moves the way modern sporting individuals study them. And I don't think that was fair. But LOL, I'll be honest, my mom used to have a sledgehammer, and ever since then, I've always wanted to be able to use it properly, like a two-handed weighted weapon. Well, it is. It's just a big warhammer. And there are a couple options. In that case, see, now we're starting to get the feel of what you're looking for and how we can adapt it. Part of it is you're going to have to build up your arms and your chest. You're just going to have to strengthen yourself as much as reasonably possible. Water bottles can make great weights if you don't have access to anything else. I am notorious for using the 1 gallon water bottles for my breathing machine for essentially kettlebells. I used to do drills with a crowbar, but I was kind of very, very hyper into it. So I love. Did you have permission, or was it like you found them on the street and did street lessons? Okay. I started out in a group called the Society for Creative Anachronism in college. My first instructor, who I shall not name, because names have power, and I don't want to give that gentleman, and I'm using the term gentleman loosely, any confirmed notoriety, either positive or negative. But while I was training with him, he quickly caught on that I was very good at what I did and that I could train other people very quickly. So when new people would come in, he would take the people that he considered worth his time simply by their build and train them and say, Nick, you just take the rest and see what you can do with them. And I did, because I am hyper observant. I'm able to learn a lot about how somebody fights by watching them. And at that point, when I was physically healthier, I was able to imitate between 60 and 80% roughly, sometimes more, of someone else's fighting style if I got to watch them for a while. I could mimic their footwork, their attack patterns, things like that. So I could teach people to fight against other people specifically, and we could figure out where their weaknesses were. After that, I left the SCA because there were issues, and I continued to help people who were involved with the SCA outside the SCA, and I worked with people in different groups because other people wanted to get better. And I've never charged for it. I've asked for gas money once in a while. I realize I never even got that. But I don't charge for it. It's about me developing and giving as much free education as possible to as many people as possible. However, I have to be careful because, again, I am online. What we do is dangerous. There is a waiver / warning at the bottom of every episode. But the people down here getting scrolled do give me a little money to be able to afford to buy things like trainers, because I buy trainers and gear out of my own pocket, and then I have a habit of giving it to the people who need it and neglecting my own gear, to the point that right now I don't technically have a functioning mask that is 100%. I have to buy a new one of those. But I also, in my life, developed certain nerve conditions that affect my ability to stand. So I am still working very hard to be able to help people regardless of my physical capability. I still have a lot of the knowledge. And on a good day, I can be quite physical. But on a less than good day, I have to sit on the sidelines and just sort of coach. And I'm totally fine about it because it's never been about me. I've always been about, I just want to be a footstool. I just want to help you get into this, get into a style and a weapon set that works for you, get the confidence and the capability to defend yourself, to enjoy a sport, to basically, I want you to be the main character of your life. And I want to help people who maybe, and I have, who maybe have lost the feeling or the capability of being that. So I hope that helps. Do I can carry one of these just in case you need it? I walk with mobility aids, so I walk with either a cane or a walking stick. I don't need to conceal the fact that I walk with a cane or a walking stick. I elect not to carry, for example, I get tremors in my hands due to the nerve damage. There was a period of time where they stopped working entirely. I've had to do a lot of physical therapy and occupational therapy to be able to keep them moving. But that's why I don't carry a firearm. I also prefer not to carry edged weapons if at all possible, because that limits my ability not to kill someone if I have to defend myself. So I have to carry a stick because I never know when a bad day is going to be. A good day can turn into a bad day. So I train with what I carry. Now, I never go anywhere without a knife, but I never go anywhere without a knife as a tool function far more than as a weapon function. I have never and won't, I've never smoked or drank anything in that range of substances. I don't judge others who do. It may not be the best life choice, but me not doing it doesn't make me better than anybody. My family has an allergy to things like drugs and alcohol. We break out in handcuffs. So to avoid issue, I have just always avoided any and all of that. Okay. Be very careful, because I don't want you to overdo it. It's far better to do more reps. That I found more reps with a lighter weight than very few reps with a heavy weight, especially for what you're doing. And there are performances for there are systems for training with hammers. Now, it is interesting that you are interested in the sledgehammer as a defense, because there was an item called the Focus, Fokos. It's a Greek shepherd's axe, which was basically a walking stick like I talk about, with a small axe head, not much different in size than the little throwing axe I showed. So it gave you a lot of reach to defend yourself, but didn't weigh a lot, and you could use it as a thing. There, I have seen, and I intend to eventually make canes that are actually the head of the cane is a modified ball peen hammer. I actually do have a hammer-headed cane, but it has other elements to it that make it a different situation than that. But such things could be trained. But then you have to, whenever you have something like that, you have to deal with the legality of explaining why you have that and whatever, which is why really, if you train with a sledgehammer and you carry a stick, you will do just fine in the most type of engagements that I have seen. But it's far more important in that aspect to train your mind to be situationally aware and not get in a point where you have to defend yourself in the first place. Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense. Sorry, I have a whole bunch of bots I have to scroll through. And good day, Dave. I hope you're doing well. What is historical fencing? Well, I started out this organization as a workshop area originally for SCA fencers. So, because we'd go to practices and everybody would just practice, which is great, but that doesn't give you a chance to study techniques. It doesn't give you a chance for group study. So I set up originally a group to study, study manuals, debate and discuss what works and what doesn't, and move forward. Then I wanted to start sharing it with everybody, and there was some issue with the SCA being upset that I was working with other groups, and I basically left the SCA after some shenanigans. So now I help from outside the SCA anyone who I can, and I've helped with people in, like I said, amp guard, people who do classical, modern sport fencing, collegiate fencing, people who do Eastern martial arts. And in the process, I started having this silly idea where I think all the martial artists, all the people who engage in the study of self-defense, the study of early weapons from any period, should be able to reasonably sit down and discuss and learn from each other, because after many, I've got a quarter of a century doing this. There is no one martial art that fits everybody. There is no one style that fits everybody. You have to incorporate ability, you have to incorporate mindset, you have to incorporate interests. So my goal is to give an understanding of the basics and help you guys take those as ingredients to make and find a style that works best for you. And then if I have the ability, which very often I do, I can say, okay, you like fighting like this, you like this weapon, you might like reading the works of this master, be it anything from Gigante to George S. Patton. And earlier, Talhofer and 1.33, whoever wrote that. All that good stuff. Basically, any manual I can get my hands on, I read. And anything they all or most of them agree on, I take note of. And that's how I built my style, figuring that was 60 to 80% of every other style. And from there, you could find the differences that you as an individual like and grow in that direction. But if you're ever injured or something happens where that style doesn't function for you as well, you can always step back and have a basic style that will work, or that you can adapt towards injury, disability, or aging. Which is why I call my stuff the Simple Sword. See ya, Grant. Have a good one. Perfect sense. Thank you. Absolutely. The Force is strong with Jedi Nick. That's a whole nother set of conversation. Oh, Sarah. Hi. I have to send something to you. because we need to get you and Churro, who is very excited to be in the same chat as you, together, because I think she could use an elder goth to her baby bat, but that's neither here nor there. Um, I hope what we're talking about is at least educational and entertaining. Um, Whenever we get into these discussions, it's important to find what works for us and train towards what works for us. Okay? Um, Always from an attitude of doing the least damage, doing the least harm, and escaping any situation with the most positive outcome possible. Because what you train is what you'll do. So it's very, very important. Anyone who is training in any martial art, especially, always do it with the responsibility of what this is. And if you want to go into unarmed arts, cool. Pick it up. I dabbled in boxing at points in my life. I dabbled in, I've done forms of Tai Chi. I've dabbled in basically whatever my friends were sparring, because at points I sparred and engaged with them to be essentially smart learning, a smart target dummy. So what they would, okay, let me put it this way. My buddy Sword Sage, for a long time, when he was just kind of getting back into the basics and stuff, he lived near me. And he would be picking up a new technique. And he would want to test it. So what would happen is first he'd come to my house for a practice or whatever, and there was always great control and calibration. He would explain what he wanted to do. And then in extreme slow motion, like if it was an arm lock, he would teach, show me how it went or whatever. And walk through. And then we would spar lightly with me knowing he's going to attempt this. And then I would not resist overtly. Okay? And then, after we've done that for at least one pass, couple passes to get the feel, he and I would go at it. But if he attempted it, I would say, safe, slow, but still resist and try to find openings out. So what he would do is he would show me a move. I would learn enough of the move to develop a counter for him, show him how to deal with people trying to counter that, and figure out does it work or not. It's a very hands-on, very discuss cognitive, conversational style of sparring. Very light, because we're not trying to pull anything. We're not trying to prove our masculinity here. If you want to do things like that, train for MMA and get in the cage and do that. Or go into like Bohurt. I know some beautiful, beautiful people who put full body, head to toe steel armor on, blunted steel weapons, and they just beat the tar out of each other and have a great time doing it. That's a little extreme for me, but cool for them, I can watch a sort of scale of aggression in training and how it applies to the rationale of the individual. Understanding and developing a mentality of awareness, a mentality of capability, but respect both for yourself, for others, and having enough respect for both to be aware of your emotions and not let them guide you. And Sarah says, in case it was missed, hey, Just saw the chat, and hey, churro. I'll send Nick some pics of my Chicago days. Yeah, we can welcome to share with you. Oh yes, you guys will have far too much fun. Um, but that's the other thing. I can't do it as much as I used to because I used to be very active in different groups. But I back in the SCA, I could go. Oh, you like this style fighting? You need to go speak with John Miner, or you need to go talk to that large gentleman over there, or hey, you know what? You like pole arms? Why not to have you go look at talk to my wife, talk to Amanda. Amanda's quite good with her glaive, and John is quite good with glaives, and a few others. So I had people I could point people to. I have less of that now, but many times I can watch and I can say, have you considered reading Musashi's Book of the Five Rings if you're a katana individual? Everybody should read Sun Tzu. Sun Tzu's Art of War should be mandatory reading in like middle school. It's necessary. Um, and if you're just getting into it, obviously, I love my book, The Simple Sword. You can get that on Amazon. Guy Windsor has some amazing books. The Swordsman's Companion, The Duelist's Companion. Uh, it it will be fabulous when you find the right group of people. Um, but before then, just work on. If you are frail, that's fine. You want to be as strong as your body will allow you to be. And from that list of capabilities, we can then build okay, maybe you need to train in a lighter style because you're not ready to physically do that heavier style. And by then, maybe I can work with you. Um, I hope this proves educational. I hope this is helpful to you guys. I do apologize if my energy is a little off. Those of you who don't know, I was in a mild but startling auto wreck about now 5 hours ago. I was trying to pull my car out of my driveway, and somebody saw fit to hit my car hard enough that it whipped it across the. We nearly ended up on the other side of the road with Alexander in that my son in the passenger seat. It was very scary. It was very shake-inducing, and it kind of threw my juju off, my mojo off. But despite that, we are okay. There was relatively little damage, just a lot of force because I was able to handle it and kind of steer into it to keep from just getting ripped onto the support wall of my property. I mean, literally, just I had it backed out far enough to be able to check, but Xander was okay, and then we got him into the house to prevent an outburst, especially when the police arrived. But the police arrived. We're waiting for the accident report, and then we'll be able to contact their insurance because we didn't get their insurance information. Uh, I've had a run of rather bad luck lately, and that one just sort of spiked it. So dealing with that has thrown me off. Plus, it's after my birthday, and thanks again to Churro and the kids at the library because for those of you who don't know, I run a RPG program for the kids at the Benton County Public Library. I run it for the teens, the young teens, preteens and teens, to be able to play D&D, well, play an RPG. We use basic fantasy role playing. because they can download the books for free, and I can afford to, the library and I can afford to buy them and distribute them so that they're encouraged to have something to read. But they were very kind and threw me a birthday party as part of game night, and I'm still incredibly touched by that. But it is past the hour, and honestly, today has taken a bit of a toll on me. So, because I had to do some other things to keep myself where I needed to be, and I'm feeling it now. So, I think I'm going to call it if you don't mind. So, guys, please do your drills, keep your guard up, be kind to yourself and each other, and as always, thank you for supporting your local swordmaster. I will be back for this program next Friday at 8. I will be on the Historical Fencing Guild. I'm not on the Historical Fencing Guild. Doing Nevermind the Furthermore on my other YouTube channel, the Nicholas Tucker channel, 10 a.m. Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, with Wednesday being my art program. Hopefully, sometimes Thursday, I will have a new episode of Nick Knows Nerf, and we'll be going from there. I'm trying to get myself back into a more regulated streaming broadcast. But have a good one. Toodles, folks.